Very self-explanatory. This next step, though, is where you have to fight your intuition just a little bit. What do you think is required? Search name, that's it. That's correct. If you put something in description, it doesn't really show up anywhere, so you could, but it's not really going to help you or them all that much. So definitely give it a name. You will not see access level on your screen. I just have a little power. They like to tease me into thinking I have power. I work at HAR. And then what would you think that I would do? I know that's not formatted correctly, so forgive me. And there's no E in spring. I will go ahead and delete the E out of spring. I know Remax isn't quite right, but okay, so now I've given it a name. What do you think I do next?
Notifications.
Because I sort of gave you a hint that you had to fight your intuition, right? So your intuition is telling you to go to save, so you know that's not the right answer. If you were to click save, that saves it for you only. Remember I showed you a minute ago when I hovered on search and single family, I had that pop-out menu of all my custom searches just for me? That's how I would do that. I would click save. I think that it would be amazing if they updated this verbiage to say notification set up, because then it would make perfect sense. But notification settings is what we have. So this is for attaching it to a client. This is saving it for myself, my own benefit.
Before you do that, in search description, is there any reason why you shouldn't put the search criteria in there?
You may put anything that you want. Again, it doesn't really show up anywhere.
But when you pull up this search, for example, to see what you set a client up on, and maybe their criteria has changed and you want to make sure that your search has incorporated that change, would it go there, or is that available somewhere else?
Ideally, that would make perfect sense, that you would be able to see that description,
right,
and it would say, oh, Mr. Smith, he wanted 250 to 350 and area fit, yeah. That would make sense that that would be the case, but unfortunately it is not the case.
We're never going to see this description.
You kind of never see the description at this time, that's right. We're hoping they alter that, make it show up.
Okay.
What I actually would recommend that you do is call the search something relating to what they want. If I just call it Mr. Smith search, 6 months from now, or 5 minutes from now, if you're anything like me, you'll have no idea what that search criteria contained. So maybe here is where I would say 250 to 350K, 3-bedroom, Sterling Ridge.
Better abbreviate, because they don't give you many characters.
Yeah, I think it's 120 maybe.
No. I mean, you won't even cross the line. You won't even fill up that one line. It's
much shorter than 120. I can't remember the.
Yeah, it's probably like
the total.
30 or something.
So this is where you set up how your email is going to show up when it comes to you in the middle of the night, so that you know which client.
Well, more importantly, this is what's going to your client. So you want it to make sense to them.
The search name.
If I put area 15, that doesn't really mean anything to them because they don't work with MLS area numbers, right? So again, I would probably put something, I'm not just a bad typer, there's a glare and I can't actually see all the numbers on my keyboard. Again, I didn't search by this, but just as an example. Okay, so when they're receiving it, they'll know, oh, okay, that's what that is about. I can have multiple people, I can have multiple saved searches, and I can have an unlimited number of both, and an unlimited number of searches attached to a customer. Remember my investor example, he wants Kingwood or Clear Lake or Katy or downtown, or he doesn't care where it is, he just wants a good deal. I could have 5, 6, 8, 12, whatever number of custom searches with different criteria for him. So each one would need to be named something relevant to what that search is looking for. Katy, 60 to 80,000. Kingwood, 60 to 80, whatever it might be, okay? So that's what I would do to kind of circumnavigate the kind of useless description field and give it a little something that makes sense. Again, it's perfectly fine if you choose to say the search for Mr. Smith as the name. That may be just fine for you and the client, okay? So just, again, know your target audience and call whatever you would like, okay? So again, we're gonna go to notification settings. Again, maybe if you just think it in terms of saving it for yourself or notifying, just to kind of help it make a little more sense. The most important part of the whole entire process is this little bitty, itty bitty, teeny tiny checkbox. If you do not turn on or enable the auto notification, it's not doing anything. Okay? So once you check that box to turn on, again, our default, remember we put 180, but I can have anywhere, excuse me, from 1 day up to 180 days worth of auto notifications. I again get an email 7 days before that number arrives. Your client's not going to receive auto notifications. Click here to keep it going, and you can just re-up it or renew it at that point from the link that you're provided. You've got a drop down here for existing contacts. Again, if you had added people in Tempo, your people's list copied up to Fusion for you, so their name may be shown here. I've got a lot of amazing clients, as you can see, already in the system. So if you just click on your client name and select that, you're set there, or the little tiny, sort of obscurely located, itty bitty green circle with a plus, that's to add a new person. So from right here, I can just put in, again, what do you think is the only required fields? Name, first and last. Logically, though, her answer is correct. It's not required to put their email, but why wouldn't I put their email? It's all email driven, right?
You don't know what some people
You should know it at this point if you're trying to set up the auto notification. It would be a good piece to have. So if I put in their first name, last name, I have up to 4 different email slots, for lack of a better term. So I could have a business address, a home address, partner, they call it. That's just the other person on their record. So husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, roommate, business partner, life partner, other person, okay? Mother, father, that's right, anybody. Brother, sister, whatever it might be. So I could put the first and last name of the primary person, then the first and last of the other person, and then again I've got up to 4 different emails that I could put in there. And they could receive it at all 4 of them, or they could just receive it at 1, though I would have then a record of all the other ones just on their contact record.
Marilyn, if you did not link this to a contact, but you just put in an email address, the cover note that goes out with each notification is just going to say dear contact name, isn't it?
It wouldn't go anywhere, actually. It's required that you have a first and last name. So if you don't fill in anything at all for the name, it will not let you go on to the next step.
Well, this is presuming that we're setting up a contact, but you're not required to set up a contact, are you?
If you save, if you want to go into this auto notification, it presumes you want a person to get stuff.
Okay.
Okay? You can put yourself, of course, as the quote-unquote client, but it'll require a first and last name in order for you to go on to complete the auto notification process. You don't need a client at all if you're just going into save and saving up one of those manually run searches.
Okay.
That's the big difference between the two. Okay? And this contact record has what I call warm fuzzies, pretty extensive record. If you choose to fill all that in, you've got at least 3 different mailing addresses, a place to make some notes. Again, this currently does not show up anywhere at all that a consumer would see it. You would just open their contact record and you would be able to see the notes. So where you met them, that they love a bright open kitchen, all of those other things that you may need to know. Birthdays, children's names, anniversaries. Again, what I call warm fuzzies at the bottom there. All right, so I'm going to click cancel and not set up a new client. I'll just choose one of my existing clients here. Okay. Again, don't be jealous of my amazing client list here. I can click next down here or just click the tab. Again, our default's ASAP, but this may be one of my clients that does not want to get messages all day, every day. Maybe they prefer daily. Again, pros and cons, right? They'll only get it between about 2ish and 4 in the morning, but they'll only get it between about 2 and 4ish in the morning, and I will only get my carbon copies when they receive theirs. So I don't know any more about the market than they do, necessarily. Does that make sense? So again, my example of a listing coming on the market at 10 in the morning will both be kind of oblivious until the next day.
What's the maximum number of searches you can have for one name?
I don't know of any limit.
I have more searches than anybody in my list because I watch certain markets.
Yeah.
And I had one the other day that it looked like it was telling me too many searches, but I just went back and deleted some old.
And I don't know, I don't know of, there may be one, but I am not aware of it. I haven't ever hit it and I haven't ever been told that there's a max. So as far as I know, there's an unlimited number of contacts, unlimited number of searches, unlimited number of searches on a contact. Okay. Pretty impressive that you've hit the max if you have.
I do neighborhood searches that
You're just the first person I've ever heard say you got an error about the maximum number, so you and me both. You would think if there was a max, I would have hit it because I make up a different search at a different client every time I teach the class practically.
It was getting me. I had some, yeah, I had something the other
Yeah.
day. I went to Har, the one, wherever it is, and they said, "Oh, I've never seen that happen." I said, "It's happened to me twice."
Well, if I always say that too. If it's weird, it'll happen to me. All right, so again, case by case, monthly, daily, bi-monthly. Again, if you set yourself up, like I was mentioning just a second ago, if I was the quote-unquote client, I just kind of generally wanted to watch a neighborhood, kind of like she's saying, once or twice a month, maybe a perfect interval or frequency of updates, you know. Again, you'll just decide what you want. And then if you choose not to send those, they would be getting just new listings, no updates on price changes or status changes. Again, this is just for this one client. It doesn't affect my defaults or my other clients. So just only Evis would be affected by what I choose here. Contact email is, again, verifying their email address. He's got a second email. Again, I could choose to send to both or not, just simply by clicking or unclicking, checking or unchecking the box. This again will say property matches for Elvis Presley on the actual time that was sent. Contact salutation, I didn't focus on that in the contact record, but it always defaults to dear first name. So this will say dear Elvis. If you're not comfortable calling them by their first name, if you would prefer to say dear Mr. Presley, you would need to go into their contact record and change the salutation. And I'll open a contact here in just a moment so you can see where that is and how to change that. And then down below, again, is the kind of default verbiage. Please visit a personal page I've set up for you that contains property listings of interest. I don't talk like that, so I might change that. You know, I have set up a custom website for your listing results or properties that meet your criteria. Click the link below to open that website, you know, something like that. So again, I can tweak this whole thing. I can delete it and start over. I can say whatever I want, and this is just for Elvis Presley, my contact. Okay, so it doesn't change the default every other time. If I really hate this template, I'm going to have to manually change it all the other times as well. And then down at the bottom, they're receiving a link to the buyer full, as well as access to the contact page, the gateway, so they can look at just the buyer full and say, nope, don't like it, or they can continue on into their client gateway and mark it as a favorite possibility, make notes and such. Our last tab, either next there or agent notification, again, all or nothing. I want a carbon copy of everything or nothing at all for this particular client. You always receive the agent one page. The difference between the buyer full and the agent full is you have all the days, the premium data it's called, appointment information, days on market, agent remarks, all of that. That is suppressed when it's sent to a customer. Anything that you email out is always that consumer-friendly version. It suppresses the listing agent name, the showing instructions, the agent remarks, days on market. So you're their one contact if they need something. All right, so then last but not least, we click Save. And this is what I was saying is your option in Fusion. Just go ahead and send everything, all 11, off they go, or review them first, and this is where I can take out some and not send some, or categorize them somewhat, or I can change my mind to not send anything at all if I don't want to. Okay, we'll go ahead and go into the second one to review them first. And remember, I was pretending they hated number 8, this Lynette Chase. Okay, so I don't want to send that to them at all. I simply don't check it, and they won't ever hear about it. Okay? So if I come up here to the top and select all, but then unselect that one, they're receiving 10 properties in their notification, and they'll continue to receive updates on all 10 of those until they put it in reject. Okay? They'll never hear about Lynette Chase again. So if the price goes down, whatever, it's off their list. The other thing that you can do, though, is reject, like I mentioned, and let me unselect here. Click just that one, and then right here where it says reject, I love the super grown-up professional smileys. It's very sad. He feels rejected. So now I've kind of put it in that out of sight, out of mind. It goes into that section, reject, and they can unreject when they want to. I need to tell them, oh, by the way, that house that you didn't care for, it's not really going to send you notifications, but in case you ever change your mind, here's where you find it. And you'll know where to find it here in a minute because you don't know that yet because you haven't seen it. But that's how you would do that. It's just select if you don't want to send it at all. Select and reject if you want to give them the option to pick it up later. The other thing that you can do is recommend property. All of these meet the same basic cookie cutter criteria, right? They all have 3 bedrooms at least. They all have about 2 baths. They all have the same price range. Year built, stories, pool, whatever other criteria you may have put in there. But that one where they had said, remember we were pretending they wanted a big bright kitchen? Maybe this one has a big bright kitchen. So I want to highlight that as even more fitting their criteria. So I would just check the box and click recommend, and it'll feature it at the top of their results. Is basically a featured home or recommended. It's even more like what you want, I think. Okay, so that'll highlight that. Okay, makes sense? Whatever you have checked is what you're applying that designation to. So if I click reject right now, I'm rejecting everything. Or recommending everything, which I may or may not want to do. Okay, so just be careful that you only have checked what you want to put in certain categories. Did that answer your question, or did you have a question?
This is just for setup. Correct? Because you're not going to go back through all these.
Say that again?
It's only for a setup. This is only when you're sending the initial setup.
This is only when you send it initially, that's right. This is that one shot you have at weeding out the ones that they've already decided that they hate, or you think that. Right. They have to read through and categorize, or you can do that on their behalf later as well. Okay? So now that I've got those ready to go, I will check everything. Again, if it's not checked, it does not send anything at all ever. So I want to make sure everything that I want to send is checked, and then click email, search results. So now it'll send all 11. They'll receive an email with a link that says, here you go, here's a link. It always includes a mobile-friendly version, though they always look pretty much okay on every device. We include that mobile-friendly in case for some reason the format doesn't come out correct. Again, don't mess with anything in square brackets, super techie stuff. It'll say Dear Elvis, and you can see up here it automatically filled in Dear matches for Elvis Presley on this date. I get a carbon copy, and then off it goes. And once it's gone, I get a little confirmation, okay, it went successful. It'll also tell me if it was not successful. Anything that you send from Fusion bounces back through your own email, so if they had given you an incorrect email address or you mistyped it or whatever, you would get one of those Mailer Damon kind of, you know, the address you were trying to send to didn't work, so you would know that. So it kind of looks like nothing much happened on this page, but it sent it, so I just need to click close. And then I'm back at the results grid with one exception. If you'll notice across the top here now, it's connected to my client, it's attached. So Elvis Presley got these 11, this one was in that category, and this one was in that category. And off to the far right is their gateway, our contact website, okay? It's a little cart before horse here. Now let's go see what the heck we created, right? Now that we've done all of the work to set it up, what does it look like when they get it? So this is basically what your client will see. It'll look just a tiny bit different in a couple of spots because I'm logged in as an agent, quote unquote, so I'll point those out. But this is 99.9999% what your client gets. So right here where it says the search name, again, kind of relevant to what we're searching for and what that search would contain. If we had more than one search, they would just be listed all in a row, one right after the other, in a column rather, and each would have its own little view properties button to the side. Again, if you have a picture, it places it in the upper left. If you don't, it takes all this contact information and scoots it up and fills the space. So there's no big, you know, they didn't bother to put a picture kind of area. And then yours will have your company name, company logo down below as well. So here are our different categories again that they can put them in. I've got a category for recommendations, and here is where that rejects kind of hides out and lives. So at any point they can click the reject tab and see that one house and unreject if that's what they would like to do. Okay, so it'll just stay over there quietly puttering away. If the price does go down or up or whatever, it'll be on this page, but they're not receiving notifications about that because it was rejected. Okay, so where they'll go probably is straight into my searches to view those properties. And again, the agent recommendations are always featured at the top, so this one will stay there. But beyond that, the default order is always the most current. So these all came in at the same time today, but if they get listing, there's a new listing in an hour, that new listing would be the second one on the list right below my recommendation. Okay, does that make sense? So the most current's always at the top of the list, with the exception being your recommendations, which are at the top of the list. And then right here where it says details, they can see the full details, the buyer full, basically. So they've got all of the remarks and the room sizes and so forth. And again, it suppresses the listing agent contact information, anything related to days on market or property archive days on market. Anything related to the appointments and agent remarks is not there. They can click right here to view the photo gallery or up here to view the photo gallery. This property has a virtual tour, so they can watch that. They can see the property on a map. They can save it or categorize it, which we're headed to next. They can also make some notes and just say, I really like this kitchen. I hate the front yard. Are they willing to replace that carpet? You see what they write and they see what you write, but there's no notification. It's not instant messaging. It's just a limited amount of interactivity. So be sure that they're aware of that. If they write, oh, I'd love to see it, you're not going to see that, right? If it's something time sensitive, they need to contact you directly by email or phone. Okay, but again, they can make some notes about what they did and didn't care for about the house and things like that, so that you know those things, and also just for their own reference later. They will not see recommend this listing, but besides that, all of the other options will be there for them. So they can put, hate stucco, are they willing to replace the carpet, whatever it might be in that box. And I'll just put a little something so you can see what it looks like on the next page. So here is what they wrote, or in this case me, I'm logged in as me. So on this date and this time, they wrote that. And then if the consumer wrote something, it would show up right there. So it'd be like a little conversation at the top of the listing each time.
It's not coming to you. It's not going to show up in your email.
You don't get any kind of notifications. That's right. You have to open it and look at it. That's true of Tempo as well. That's what I was saying. Be sure that they're aware of that in that email verbiage. Remember, I was saying tweak that email verbiage that they receive. Make sure it says, if you make some notes, I can see them, but they are not going to alert me. There's no instant notifications. Call me if you want to see it, if you need something urgent, if you've got questions, and guide them that way. The save button again is the same thing. So favorites, possibilities, rejects. I love the little smiley faces there, the sad, so rejected. Okay, so they can do just only notes or also put it in a category. Okay, and again, I'm acting as the agent here, but the consumer would be the one doing all of those. And you can see it puts a different color, sort of header, a highlighted color. Possibility is this turquoise color. Rejects go away completely from the list. They go off into that reject section. So it gives them a nice little quick reference to what they're looking at. They can scroll through the next property. And again, just to make it consistent, this is what they would be seeing. Make notes, save, print, whatever they want to do from this particular page, and just continue on. Or they can go back to the search results at any time as well. Okay, and you can see their categories have put that there at the top. If I go to the possibilities tab, only the ones that they've marked as a possibility are there, only their favorites are in favorites. Kind of logical, right? But everything's all in the main list under my searches, and then just those breakdowns of categories would be listed as well. Okay. Make perfect sense? Clear as mud? eyes. Again, if you don't say anything, I presume you're okay. But it's really okay to say if you're not okay. All right, so let's go back to the contact section, and we can edit this and make some changes if we need to.
So are we going to take a break?
I hadn't planned to, but we could.
It's not correct.
No, it is not. It has been 11:30 for a very long time. I had not planned to take a break, but I am open to doing that.
5 minutes? Could we just give us 5 minutes?
Absolutely. Let's let her ask her question, though, in case